Hello everyone. In what came as a bit of a surprise, a new short story was just released. Terror by Torchlight, a prequel to Exploring Azeroth the Eastern Kingdoms, both written by Christie Golden. It details the story of one of Matthias Shaw and Flynn Fairwind's adventures that goes horribly wrong. As all adventures do, it's in the rules of fantasy literature. Now, before going into the meat of the story, I should address the elephant in the room by practically telling you that I'm not really going to address it. And that is that this is an LGBT relationship. You might think, oh, it's nice that an LGBT relationship gets some screen time in the lore, and sure, on paper you'd be right. But I've also heard from some members, obviously not a general consensus, just some voices, of the LGBT community that think that this particular relationship is stereotypical or obnoxious or that it smacks of tokenism. At the end of the day, I'm not an LGBT person. Quite frankly, I cannot tell you whether this is a good representation of an LGBT relationship, and it would be presumptuous of me as a straight person, well, except for that one time, to say that it is or that it is not. Instead, I'm going to look at Terror by Torchlight as a piece of literature and as a part of Warcraft lore. And of course, since the relationship between Flynn and Shaw is a big part of the story, I will tell you what I think of it in terms of how Christie Golden has presented it in this short story. Again, not in terms of whether this is a good representation of a specifically LGBT relationship. Let's start with that, I suppose, since we're talking about the topic anyway. I thought that Christie Golden did an okay job writing this relationship. She's definitely written better relationships in the past. Now, there are a few subtle touches that I particularly liked. The biggest one that comes to mind is the very first two sentences in the story where Flynn is mentally preparing himself to talk to Shaw. Maybe that's just me, but I really enjoyed that subtle touch. I am a very shy and reserved person in real life, and, well, yeah, I always get butterflies in my stomach for that special someone. However, there are also things that I found to be way too sappy. As an example, there's a point in the story where Flynn thinks Shaw is going to say no to him regarding something, and the story goes on and on for a few sentences about how Flynn's heart is sinking like a ship borne on the tide to the bottom of the sea, and I was like, okay, you're straying way too much into the realm of sappy romance novels. Now, sure, every relationship is different, but I rarely find myself going into an internal monologue comparing my sinking heart to a ship in the sea in the split second before someone gives me an answer. In short, and this is going to be subjective as hell, the subtle gestures and the pure emotion of the relationship in the short story, good writing, in my opinion. The sappiness and the over-the-top theatrics, mawkish writing. No joke, I learned a new word while writing the script and looking for a synonym for sappy. Anyway, maybe the writing of this relationship will work differently for you. I don't know. As to the events of the short story itself, well, Blizzard writers sure love to use Duskwood as the setting of their spooky undead stories. In fairness though, I do have to appreciate that they referenced the Morbid Fell quest line, including how the Torch of Holy Flame was built with light forged iron, etc. I also like the small detail of seeing Flynn's reactions to facing and seeing undead for relatively the first time. Sure, it's a common trope in this kind of literature, but I strictly personally like the subtle touch. As to the thread itself, well, it wasn't particularly memorable, nor was it intended to be. Just an undead female necromancer raising an undead army. Though, fun side story, as I was reading through the short story I thought to myself, oh, it's nice that we feature a small thread again, someone who is unrelated to the overall apocalyptic storyline of World of Warcraft expansions. It's cool to have a side story, after all, not everything has to revolve around, oh, the villain is only doing this now because she senses what Sylvanas is about to do. Oh. Well, at least that makes sense contextually, but still I wish it was more of a self-contained thing. One other thing that I found questionable, even though it's just one line in the whole short story, is when Shaw says, "Occasionally the king sends me to check up on them, the various artifacts stowed away in all the corners of Azeroth." Now, I know that it's a common trope in fiction, but the head spy master is kind of an important person and someone who has a whole bunch of other responsibilities, not field work. I suppose I can chalk this up to Shaw coming up with a pretext to go on a journey with Flynn. So, as a conclusion, this short story was alright, in my opinion. Not the best and not the worst, though that's damning with faint praise. The threat was, well, done enough, though forgettable, and the character dynamic was hit or miss. Though, I suppose the main thing that this short story will be remembered for anyway is the fact that it features an LGBT couple in the center stage. Also, I know I'm going against popular opinion with the fact that I didn't absolutely love this short story, but hey, Opinionated is part of the title, and I think I explained why I feel the way I feel. Alright, thank you all for watching and listening to me, and I will see you all next time. Farewell.